Employment downturn, overwhelming debt, corrupt political leadership. Are we talking about current events? Nope. We're talking about Promise Mascot Agency. It's a 2025 business management sim developed by Kaizen Gameworks. You play as Michizame Sugawara, a Yakuza enforcer known as a janitor for how adept he is at cleaning up his family's messes. When a meeting with another family goes sideways, Michi ends up losing 12 billion yen and a pinky finger. To make amends, he has to fake his death and go to Kasomachi, a dying town in the countryside that's said to have a curse that targets male Yakuza. The only shot Michi and his family have left at saving themselves is to restore their failed mascot agency in Kasomachi. To do so, Michi will have to team up with Pinky, the original owner of the agency, but that may be easier said than done. In this world, mascots are a race of magical beings who live side by side with humans. Mascots come in all shapes and sizes, and some mascots are more successful than others. You're told right at the start that the mascots in Kasomachi are nowhere near the cream of the crop, but they're all you got, so you gotta turn these big losers into big earners. If Michi didn't have enough on his plate already, he has to deal with a corrupt mayor who runs a town like his own fiefdom, as well as a hostility from the locals. There's no love lost between them and the Yakuza. And that's not even accounting for when he succumbs to the town curse.
所長、質問っす。過疎町のヤクザを殺すっていうたたりは怖くないっすか？たたりのせいで体を蝕まれて病気にかかり、何年も苦しんだり、明日ぽっくりいったりもするって噂っすよ。
This is Kaizen Gameworks' sophomore outing, and holy smokes is this game good. I covered the demo a month ago in my last Next Fest video, and as soon as the full game dropped on Steam, I threw myself into it. To recap, Promise Mascot Agency is a business management sim that happens to be set in a small, rural township. To pay off your 12 billion yen debt, you have to recruit mascots to your agency, and send them the jobs that you secure with contacts in the city. You negotiate employment benefits, hawk merch of the talent, and even franchise a business to third parties outside the city, while juggling your daily operation costs and sending enough money back to your bosses so they can keep their heads on their necks for another day. Even though you'll be mostly hands-off with the talent when they're working, they might run into obstacles and require assistance. The game then briefly turns into a card battler, where you use assistants reflected as cards to help your mascots out of whatever jam they've found themselves in. While you wait for jobs to finish, you can explore the town in your truck to do various side activities. Everything you do in the game goes back to either helping you turn your business around or to make it easier to explore Kasomachi. You can curry favors with the townsfolk, who will in turn sell you support items that you can send along with your mascots to avoid incidents or recover their stamina. You can also look for upgrades that will add more functionality to your truck, which lets you explore Kasomachi more efficiently. But the first order of business is to find talent and to find jobs. The game gives you your first mascot as a tutorial on how to negotiate employment contracts. The meter in the middle of the screen reflects how interested the mascot is in your offer. You can give up to 3 benefits to a mascot. The first benefit is what percentage of pay the talent gets from each gig, with 5 to 15% increments available at the start. You can also offer a periodic bonus, with a minimum value of 50k yen. Or you can offer a periodic raise that adjusts the take between the talent and the agency. And the last benefit is allowing the mascot to take time off periodically. In the early game, the bonus benefit can be a massive hit to the company wallet, so you might want to consider offering wage adjustment at first. You don't have to give a mascot a raise when they request it, but that can affect their happiness stat, and I personally don't like seeing my boys bummed out. My usual offer is a starting 15%, wage adjustment, and time off. After scouting talent, now you have to find jobs. Check in with a local community center to get the scoop on any new businesses that open up. You can assign a mascot to a job, and then wait for them to complete it. Jobs have preferences for 2 mascot types, and each mascot is classified by 2 types to accommodate. You can assign a mascot to a job that goes against type, but they won't get as many benefits out of the job as a mascot that does fit the bill. If an incident breaks out in a job, you'll see a prompt flash on screen. You don't have to help the mascot, but it's a hit to their ego, and again, I feel bad when they feel bad. When you get a mascot assist card, you'll see a bunch of numbers for their various stats. Now, as good as the tutorial is for the early game, I kinda glazed over them and ended up failing a lot of early attempts, so I'll explain the battle mechanics here so you can avoid my mistakes. At the start of each battle, you get a screen showing your mascot's stats and how that reflects their attack power. This gets used on the obstacle first. Once that's done, then you can start playing your hand. You have 2 turns to beat the obstacle or your mascot will fail the challenge. The finger icons at the top left of the card indicate how many turns a card will spend, how many turns it will give back, and how many cards you can add to your hand. The numbers on the bottom of the card are what the game uses to determine the attack power depending on the obstacle your mascot faces. If it's a faulty cash register, it's a gear icon. If it's a stack of boxes, it's a footprints icon. If it's a playful dog, it's a paw prints icon. If it's a bunch of hecklers, it's a people icon. If it's internet trolling, it's a psych icon. Your goal is to figure out the sequence of cards you have to play to reduce the health of the obstacle while refreshing your turn order and making sure you have enough cards in your hand to play. Before you even start playing cards, you have the option to mulligan and shuffle out your hand for a new batch, up to 2 times. But once you play a card, you can no longer mulligan. If this already didn't sound daunting enough, you have to do all of this under a time limit. You can improve these assist cards by finding doubles out in the open world, or in vending machines, or doing quests for the townsfolk. Improved cards have better attack values and benefits, like giving back more turns or drawing more cards. Besides settling your debt and paying your operation costs, you can use your funds to improve the agency, which will then improve the quality of your mascot's performance. You can also spend money to restore certain parts of the town, which will give your mascots more job opportunities in return. Along with scouting talent and job hunting, you can delegate jobs to third parties that operate outside of town. You find business cards of mascots who operate remotely, and hire them to manage these subcontractors. You don't have to manage them like your main talent. They're just a source of passive income. Another way to get passive income is to find merchandise of your mascots in the open world, and then go to one of the various crane game machines all over town to do the crane minigame. I am so happy to say that this crane game is way less frustrating than Wanted Dead's, as I can actually reliably pull a figure without risk of physics screwing me over. For the most part. Once you've got your fill of merch, you can assign which storefronts carry what, depending on what mascot each store prefers. The truck upgrades I mentioned earlier sound ridiculous when the mechanic tells you about them, but they really open up the island town.
Oh, they fly now! They fly now? They fly now!
It doesn't feel like it at first because the truck doesn't have great handling at the start of the game. There's a lot of inertia you have to overcome to get the car to move from a dead stop, and even more to push it uphill, even with the boost function available from the start. But once you get wings in your truck, everything changes. Something about the upgrade affects the properties of the truck's physics. It's easier to move uphill. It doesn't take much work to lift off the ground. I've noticed that the truck has a tendency to pull to the right if it's drifting too long in the wind, but you can correct its course by judicious tapping of the boost button. And even though your truck is naturally buoyant at the start, getting the amphibious upgrade turns into a speedboat whenever you reach a body of water deeper than a puddle, and that makes it more maneuverable. A cute detail whenever you're shifting into different modes is that Pinky will wear a pilot's hat when you're airborne, and a sailor getup when you're on the seas. If that wasn't enough to help you reach hard-to-get collectibles, you can also launch Pinky at designated targets. I love this feature because I'm no longer at the mercy of those floating paper spirits' whims when they float just outside of my range. It's on sight with them now. Same with the nature spirits that carry the truck upgrades, as they tend to hop over you if you try to catch them head on. Combine the Pinky Cannon with a junk processor upgrade that lets you convert all the pink trash bags in town into fuel when you touch them, and you can stay airborne while refueling by hitting any trash bags with Pinky. The truck upgrades are a great example of how one part of the game feeds back into another part of the game, enhancing the overall experience. The open world gameplay feeds into the card battler gameplay, which then feeds into the jobs, and that ultimately feeds back into the open world gameplay. Not only that, but the things you do in town benefit the community as a whole. Using up the trash bags like I mentioned before makes the town look cleaner, along with destroying any campaign signs that the mayors put up. There are shrines scattered all over Kasomachi that have been left in disrepair. Being the janitor, you can tidy up these shrines and get a small bonus for your mascots. Restoring the rundown parts of town not only gives your boys more job opportunities, but it also brings back tourism into town. You'll see silhouettes appear that represent the townsfolk that aren't part of the plot. What I love about these silhouettes is that they're not just a clever way to show that tourism is coming back without getting in the way of the player, but they also mix human and mascot silhouettes to reinforce a theme that we coexist alongside the mascots. I won't touch on the plot, as the main thrust for playing the game is seeing how Michi and his Yakuza family are tied to the history of Kasamachi, but I do want to mention the themes of the game. It's about bringing everyone up along with you, and not pulling the ladder away when you succeed. Every mascot you recruit has their own reason for joining the agency. Once you've sent them on enough jobs, a meter will fill up on their profiles called Life Satisfaction. When you reach certain milestones, you can check in on a mascot to see how they feel about the job and their general feeling on things. Essentially, these are Persona's social links. They're short vignettes, and each mascot has 3 milestones that follow a similar arc. They're consumed by whatever's holding them back when you confront them. Then they reflect on your input and take steps to improve their situation. And then they show you the fruits of their work and thank you for helping them. It sounds flippant describing them this way, but they are not phoning it in with these moments. I'll use Tofu as an example. Tofu is your starting mascot, and he's extremely anxious and constantly racked with self-doubt. As you encourage him, he gets more confident about his place in the agency, and scores a deal with a local tofu shop to promote their business. Other mascots have similar paths, but there are also others who bought property in town and want to make something for themselves, or have a platform where they can voice their opinions in a public forum. And some just want to organize ethical goon sessions. It's another way to humanize the mascots and make it more than just funny animals who slip on wet floors. Doing side quests for townsfolk improves their mascot assist cards, but it also lets you learn about their passions and fears and regrets, and it provides little morsels of the town's history. I've never seen a studio so confident with the game world they've built like Kaizen, because they could have done the lazy thing and added checkpoint races in town as a side activity, but that would have sucked with the way the truck handles. Instead, they know that the gliding and boost mechanics can get you into places you normally couldn't with a regular truck, and place collectibles on top of buildings and rocks with extremely narrow landings, almost as a challenge to the player to master the game's movement. Every part of town feels distinct, and while I may not be able to recall the specific locations of the map, I can pick up landmarks as I cruise around town and get my bearings. All the points of interest have balloons shaped like Pinky hovering above them for easy identification, and unlike the trees, they actually have collision. The music is a perfect fit for the game's tone. It's chill and whimsical, ominous and foreboding, and bright and poppy when the occasion calls for it. Some tracks will stick in your head long after you play the game. I've still got the Crane game track looping in mind. Ultimately, what you get out of the game depends on how much you put into it. If you scout for mascots, invest in town renovations, hunt down truck upgrades, and collect mascot support cards, you'll be able to earn more cash, find more jobs, cover more ground, and win more fights. As great as Promise Mascot Agency is, I do gotta point out some shortcomings I think the game has. There's a limited stock on some of the mascot support items you can purchase. Like once you've bought everything from a vendor or a vending machine, that's it for the entire game. I hope Kaizen considers providing an update that allows item stocks to refresh after a couple of in-game days. The minimap shows all the collectibles you can find in town, which is nice, but there's no way to find vending machines besides catching sight of them in the wild. This wouldn't be so bad if the machines just sold collectibles or mascot support items, but one of the side quests requires you to find 5 vending machine items. I was just shy of clearing it, and it's the only time I've resorted to looking up the answers online. All the other side quest items are either dots or some other icon to represent a point of interest on the map. While I'm harping on the map, I wish there was a way to filter what kinds of icons appear. The dots are helpful, but I like to know what kind of collectible I'm gonna get to assess what's more important to find. You can keep track of how long it takes for a mascot to finish a job in the menu, but if you send a mascot out to compete in the Grand Prix, there's no timer to show that. You just keep playing the game, and it'll abruptly cut to the Grand Prix results without warning. There's a B-plot in the game where you convince Pinky to run for mayor. To win the election, you have to find the current mayor campaigning at key spots and debate him. But before you can debate him, the game tells you how successful you'll be based on your knowledge of the surrounding area and its needs. I don't know what triggers you have to hit to reach 100% for any given spot. I think it all depends on what part of the plot you're at in the game. And while I appreciate the generous amount of auto and manual save slots, there's no way to delete a save in-game, and I'd like to have a button that lets me clear my manual saves when I no longer need them. My last issue is kinda weird and might be specific only to me, but I brought it up in my video for the demo that I tend to cut off certain voice lines because I can't speak Japanese and may not realize that the VA didn't finish their line but was on a pregnant pause instead.
姉さんがお前らを守るには俺お前と一緒にしのぎができてよかった時。
いくら失ったのさ。
120億。家族に値段はつけられんぞ。
やれやれ。
I use the music as a cue for when a character finishes speaking, because the game stops auto-docking that track, and the volume increases. But the tracks themselves only have a 2 to 3 minute runtime, much shorter than some of the more plot-heavy interactions. There are moments where the track ends when a character finishes speaking, so I'm listening to dead silence, and waiting to see if the music will return, or if the character is still speaking.
話してやれ。金は持ってけ。二度はいらんぞ。兄貴。
Again, this is more a me problem and not a fundamental flaw in the game. I can't say enough how good Promise Mascot Agency is. I looked up Kaizen Gameworks and found out that they're based in England. And that's crazy to me because this game does not feel like that's the case. This game only has a Japanese voice cast and it's not a bunch of randos. Like, Michi is the same VA as Kazuma Kiryu from Yakuza. That's a deliberate casting choice. I don't recognize every name, but the one that caught my eye is that the Shinto priest Crow mascot is voiced by Swery, the guy behind Deadly Premonition, who also happens to be a Buddhist priest. That's not surprising, as I can see the inspiration Greenvale has on Kasomachi. Hell, they got Shuei Yoshida, the former Sony CEO, to voice a Kappa mascot that runs a junkyard arcade. At the start of the game, you'll see a notice that the team collaborated with Ikumi Nakamura, formerly of Okami and Bayonetta fame. Without getting into the specifics of the plot, it's very focused on the power balance between Yakuza families and the steps taken to maintain order and avoid infighting. It never gets as complicated as a typical Yakuza game, but it does go for a similar vibe. This isn't just a case that they slapped on a specific art style and called it an anime game. These guys feel like they're genuine ball knowers. Play Promise Mascot Agency. It's $25 on Steam, takes up like 7 gigs of storage, and it's gonna be a certified hood classic.